Welcome back to Chasing Our White Rabbit, episode 10.
Episode 10.
Episode 10. Do you know the statistic that said 90% of podcasts or 80% of podcasts don't make it past the first 6 episodes?
Wow. We are in the 20 or 10%, depending on what that statistic
is. And it also said that another 10% doesn't make it past the first 21 episodes.
We're halfway there.
Isn't that crazy?
Halfway there. Oh.
Living on a prayer, take my hand.
We'll make it, I swear. Okay, that's enough of that. That's enough.
So it is interesting because like podcasts are super popular these days, and there's a lot of very successful ones. But I mean, like the biggest advice I've ever heard on a podcast is to keep doing it. That's like the biggest advice Joe Rogan told people. He said, dude, it doesn't matter if it's good, not good. You need to get your reps in. It's kind of like working out. It's like, if you're going to, when you start, you're like, dude, I can't bench 315. But it's like, yeah, well, it's because you don't start off benching 315. And with this has got to be something similar, you know, like you got to work out all the kinks, just like we did before this podcast, right? We're like, what is going on? This is not.
Yeah.
Right.
When we started to record it, and then we have to listen back to it to make sure that we sound good.
That the audio is good.
Yeah, that the audio sounds right, but it wasn't working. We couldn't figure it out, and turns out we had something plugged in the wrong dang hole. Wrong hole.
Wrong hole.
He does that a lot.
It's good. Try it.
I don't know why I set myself up for that.
I don't know. It's like a volleyball game. You just set and I spike it down. Very nice. Holly, very nice.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, so it is interesting because like, you know, this is fun for us to do, but like I also think this is a little like
I can see why podcasts don't make it. What'd you say past the first 6 episodes?
First 6, yeah.
Yeah, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot, and you have to like, I don't know. We have like maybe like less than 10 listens on every episode.
Yeah. So it's not like we get instant gratification with our podcast, you know?
Yeah. We're still in the learning stages though. And one thing I was thinking about the other day when I was editing was like for me, I know it's different for you. I know that you have podcasts that you listen to every week and you just listen to one and that's it. Right? Like you listen
to a bunch of them.
No, I mean one episode for that podcast and then you wait for the next episode to come out.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person I want to binge. So maybe there's a lot of people that have like found it and been like, oh, there's only 6 episodes. There's not enough for me to really get into. So one day when we have, 20, 25 episodes.
I think depending on the podcast itself as well, it gets overwhelming. Like I've listened to podcasts like I listened to Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, which is
that's the one that we watch when we go on road trips.
We listen to, yeah. But they're like each of them are like 4 to 6 hours long. Like they're really long. Each episode is really long. You know, he only releases maybe 2 a year, and which I find to be, pretty cool. But he has to do so much research. It takes such a long time. But I said that to say, when you find something cool, like when I first started hearing about his podcast, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I'm going to go find that portion and listen to it because it's an interesting story about, let's say, like the Roman Empire or the Mongols or World War II or World War I, right? It's like, oh, this is really interesting. But it becomes overwhelming when you realize you have to listen to like 35 hours of a podcast to get to that story because you don't know where it's at. Of course, you're going to like Google it and be like, oh, in what minute is this episode in?
Yeah.
But like you kind of want to hear all the context that goes along with it. And he dives deep into the, everything he's talking about. So it takes a while for him to, move past first sections of, let's say, a war or a civilization. So I think there's a benefit of listening to podcasts that are just started. Like I remember when a podcast that I listen to all the time, and they release multiple episodes a week, but it's a movie podcast called Raiders of the Lost Podcast, and it's basically about movies. I remember when that one came out, I literally listened to it from they only had like 3 episodes, and they were talking about all the movies that I like, right? I mean, they're talking about Seven, they're talking about Tenet, they're talking about Christopher Nolan, they're talking about these things. But then I could go back and listen to all of them and keep up on,
like, take the journey with them.
And literally, they were guys who, James and Anthony, shout out. Those are the twins. These 2 guys that made the podcast. Not that you did, but I listened to you guys from the very beginning. So
come listen to us from the very beginning.
You don't gotta listen to us, but they have I mean, you can if you want, but
you're not allowed.
You could see their whole development. Like, they had jobs before, and they would tell guys like, "Hey, if we didn't get the episode out, apologize. We both work full-time jobs." But now they do podcasting full-time, and they're going to. It's crazy to see like the evolution of them as well, because they're literally. They went from having jobs in the movie industry, not necessarily like they're not like directors or anything, but they're literally directing a movie now. They've directed a short movie. They're trying to direct a bigger movie. They're crowdfunding for a bigger movie, but it's like this is what they dreamed to do. And when it started, I'm sure they had like aspirations of doing these things. But I got to come along with them on the journey of actually watching them do it,
Yeah, that's really cool. How long have they been around?
Since COVID. So they started during COVID.
Oh, that's cool.
Remember when I took everybody to go see Tenet? We had to go to Novato to go see Tenet. It's the movie where like time moves backwards. It's super confusing. With the war? It's not with the war. That's Dunkirk. That was a good one too.
But no. That's not Dunkirk, because Dunkirk actually happened.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the one where like it's the war and there's like one group that's moving backwards and one group that's moving forwards, and then he meets him.
Yeah. So that was like a battle they were in. Yeah, is
that Tenet?
That's Tenet. Yeah.
Okay, see, they're in a war the whole movie, aren't they?
I see it as more of like espionage than a war, but someone has nuclear weapons to develop the ability to. But at the end, there is kind of I guess you could say it was like a war, there's a battle at the end. But what?
But
that movie,
to me, that movie is about
a war
and like a weird,
who's
like,
warring?
Time. I feel like it's like future and past, and they kind of like collide. But we talked about it in the last episode. I forget movies. No.
Oh.
I pay attention. I'm paying attention. It
You're
just
Alzheimer's.
In my early onset Alzheimer's, I don't remember it. So I do remember something about a backpack.
Yeah.
And like I feel like maybe there was like a chain link.
There's a little trinket that was hanging off of it.
No, I'm talking about like a chain link. It was like an elevator, but it wasn't a real elevator. There's like a chain around it. Like I'm remembering a picture of that. I'm remembering.
Remember the end of the movie.
I'm remembering somebody.
Spoiler alert.
Talking about like, oh, I've like known you forever, even though you're just meeting me now.
This is the end of our journey. This is the end of my journey, but it's the beginning of yours. Like we've known each other forever.
That's what I'm saying. Like people are going in opposite directions.
He recruited him. Yeah, I mean, that was the whole thing. Like the protagonist. What's his name? Washington. It's Denzel Washington's son. He played for the Buffalo Bills. I always forget his name. But he's the protagonist, and he essentially like recruited. Everybody works for him. He's just not aware of it because he's the. It's at the beginning of his journey. It's the beginning of him.
John David Washington,
which I think he's a great actor. People give him a hard time about.
Do you know he has 2 sons?
I do.
Malcolm Washington. What's Malcolm doing?
He's in the middle.
No, he's not.
I don't know what Malcolm's doing. But I mean, it's so
They're
great.
active in entertainment. John David is a renowned actor known for Tenet and Black Klansman.
That's a Spike Lee movie, which was really good with Adam Driver.
Malcolm is a director and screenwriter who debuted with The Piano.
The Piano? I don't know.
Nice, guys. Good job.
But what's great about I don't know about Malcolm, but like everybody else, like Denzel and John, is that they all talk about how John talks about his mom, and Denzel talks about his dad, or his wife. Like the wife is the one that held them all together. that they gave them strength. Like,
because the wife, family.
Because the dad was always working, and Denzel Washington was always working, and he always was like, he has a bunch of interviews and just says, dude, this woman's like the best woman in the world. Like, I couldn't do what I do without her. I wouldn't be where I am right now without her. And he gives so much love to his wife, and you could see like the kids or Jonathan is like, obviously he loves his dad, but it's like his hero is his mom, because just think about like his dad lived a life where he's just other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of the most iconic movie or the iconic actors who ever lived, and that means you guys spend a lot of time away from your family. And the mom just held it down. She's a G, She's just like
a ride or die.
Yeah, you do me right, I'm gonna do you right, and I think it's awesome. But so these guys, I don't know which episode it was, but they were talking about Tenet. So this is like beginning of COVID. They started it obviously because I think they I don't say they lost their jobs, but like things changed in the industry, and they did like a lot of. One of them was a photographer and stuff, but they started talking about these movies, and I was like, and they're the ones that told me that Tenet was actually going to have a release in movie theaters, which was crazy because at the time everything was locked down, and but it was only in limited theaters. So I looked up what movie theater we're in, because we live in the Bay Area, so it's like there's a good chance that there might be a movie theater
at least nearby.
Yeah. And we just drove 30 minutes or 20 minutes to a movie theater, and we were able to go see it. And so but it's cool to see their journey. It's cool to see how they have, like, even the studio, because like you watch they're filmed, you watch like the beginning of it, they're like sitting in their little cottage house thing, or it's like a garage type of, I don't think it's a garage, but like it was like a little like outhouse studio kind of thing, like a detached house. I think it was
a granny unit.
Like a granny unit, yeah. And they're like just sitting across from just a desk, and now it's like they rent out like a production studio for certain interviews. They still have a studio, and they've built like a really nice studio inside their house or where they live. They used to live together, and now they don't live together. So you just see the evolution of who they are and how it's changed their lives, and things that were like, they would say things, shopping at Trader Joe's is expensive, like I could buy these things, but I can't buy these things. And it's like, because you only have so much money when you're a struggling artist. And now they're talking about, making movies.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, so
that's really cool inspiring to watch people like follow their dreams, because a lot of people dream, and a lot of people dream big, but you have to actually like put something in motion, and then you have to continue through the hard times when nobody's watching and all that kind of stuff. And that's neat to know that you actually watched one from the ground up. That's really cool.
Yeah, and it was really cool to see those guys like really evolve and change and just work on their craft and how their craft got better. But I say that to say, I started listening to Joe Rogan at around 2013, right? So like that's quite a long time ago. And he came out, I don't know, like maybe a couple years before that. But a big podcast that was like became mainstream was Joe Rogan and Brendan Schaub, who is a UFC fighter. And Joe Rogan basically told him, this is how I like found like the Joe Rogan experience, was he was having just a conversation with Brendan. It's not Brandon, it's Brendan. He said, like, you're essentially, your time's up, dude. You're not going to become champion. Like, I love you. You're my friend. And you just got knocked out. And if this was 5 years ago, you would have beat that guy. And he said, he asked him, how good would you do against, how well do you think you could do against Cain Velasquez at the time, who was the champion, just in wrestling? And Brendan was like, I think you'd be surprised. And Joe Rogan said, I think you'd be surprised. I think he'd fuck you up. And it was just like all these reality checks where he's just trying to let him know, like, fighters fight too long and then their brain's gone. And, you're funny and you have talent and you're business orientated. So you, here we go again. Business what, babe?
Oriented.
Business oriented.
I have to interject because this is a word that you say
oriented
multiple times a month. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll be hanging out with our friends.
With your friends who are like white collar people.
We'll be hanging out with our friends. We'll be hanging out with your family. We'll be hanging out with people and you'll say this word and I bite my tongue.
My family wouldn't know the difference.
And I don't say anything.
Your family, your friends are looking at me like, oh, he does work a blue collar job.
Or like when we're like at like, I don't know, there was one time where we were at like a rugby event, I think, and you said it and I was just like, oh. And that is why I try to correct you at home so that when we're out or apparently when we're on the podcast, you don't say things like orientated.
I know, I try, but I try so hard. But I fail.
Do you get pretty far?
No. In the end, it doesn't really matter. So I started listening to him. So he was just having a heart-to-heart with him,
So that's like the first episode
I listened to, but he already had like 150 episodes or something,
Mm-hmm.
And that was tough for Brendan to hear, and it maybe wasn't the right spot to do it in front of 30 million people.
Are they friends still?
Yeah, they're good friends. They're like one of his best friends.
Did he stop fighting?
He stopped fighting.
He listened to him?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Brendan would be like, oh, because Joe told me to stop, I stopped. But I think that he would say, he took his advice and he said, well, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and he maybe had a heart-to-heart with himself and his family, and he ended up stopping. There was a lot of changes in the UFC at the time where they used to allow fighters to have their own sponsors. So it was like NASCAR. People could have like all these like sponsors on their shorts and bring banners and stuff. And that was around the time the Reebok deal came through. And basically Reebok was like, we're going to be the exclusive sponsor through UFC. So you can't have individual sponsors anymore. And since Brendan and Joe knew this, since Brendan was pretty, business savvy, like he made more money on, is savvy not the word?
No, it is. I just like that you changed the word that you were using.
Since he was... you gotta have him put some bob and weave in this baby.
I don't remember who I was talking to about it, but I think I was talking to my brother about the effect versus affect.
Effect versus affect?
Yeah, and I can never remember. So I have changed. I don't use those words. Yeah. I say impact.
Yeah.
Instead,
that's
like just
affect.
Replace
things that affect you, like getting hit in the head, opposed to effect, which is like a special effect.
Got it. I can never remember.
That's how I remember. It's a special effects, so it's an effect, like illusion.
Got
anyway,
it.
So like, yeah, I do that.
Business savvy. Dude. That's what we're using now.
And, because I have a hard time spelling. I gotta do that all the time when I'm trying to write an email because it has to sound. It goes to people like you, like management people.
People like you? What does that mean?
To people who know how to read and spell. That's what I mean. And I don't want it to reflect bad on my supervisor. Like, dude, you got this guy writing an email that gets sent to, corporate, and everybody's looking at it like, this guy doesn't even know how to spell. Like, it doesn't look good.
Yeah.
So, I'd be like... We went and surveyed. I was like, don't know how to spell survey. Looked around. Looked around and was able to determine. Don't know how to spell determine. Was able to find out. So I got to do that, especially the writing, because I'm like, and it's so bad that the spell check's like, it literally goes, can't help you, buddy. Like, it's
have you ever thought about
I do that all the time.
Talking into your phone
all the time.
And then...
It's crazy. I'll do that, and like people be around and be like, determination. And they're like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm trying to learn how to spell determination. But I mean, it's embarrassing.
Oh, yeah. I know. I think you take it. I think you handle it very well, though. Because while you're embarrassed and you might like try to like cover things up a little bit, you're also not willing to not do it because somebody's around.
Yeah.
You'll give it a try and try to keep it on the down low, but if you can't, then you're like, well, I guess And eventually you'll just be like, I can't read and I can't spell, so shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've done that. I've had this throughout my whole life, but also like at work where it's like, I'll get into we'll be in a meeting and it'll be like typically when I'm new to like a different department or something, and they'll say, okay, we're having this meeting. Matthew, why don't you go ahead and, read the docket and we'll go ahead and talk about it. And I'll be like, well, I can't really read. And they're like, everybody's kind of like,
because nobody believes that you can't read. But you've gotten this far to where you are. You're a successful, business savvy person.
So there's like this, it really escapes them, the idea of like a person who can't read really well. You know? Or struggles really hard with reading. So what ends up happening is I'll just say, okay. And then I'll just start reading it. And of course, how I read it would be like, we need to go to the shop every morning, and they'll think I'm joking. And I'll just continue reading, and I'll read for like 20 minutes, which is one paragraph. And after like I'm done with the paragraph, everybody's like, we are really sorry. Because we were kind of all making fun of you. And you told us you couldn't read, and we can clearly see you have a really hard time reading. And I just tell them, I'll read it if you want me to read it, but I don't want you to give me a hard time about like, dude, you don't read very well. It's like there's 13 other people in this room that could read this, and they don't have this issue. Like if you want me to do it, I don't have a problem with doing it. What I do have a problem is being disrespected because I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
Because I could do that to you. I could be out in the field and be like, look at this, loser. You can't even do that, can you? No, but I don't, because I realize some things come easy to people and some things come hard to people, and there's nothing I can do about it. And so I try to like front load everybody with information, and everybody thinks I'm faking it. I don't know how many times in school growing up they were like, I can't really read, and people look up to me and be like, then read this. Read this. And then I'll read it like, da 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 da, and they'll be like, I don't believe you. I'm like, why? It's like, because you're so
smart.
You're so smart. You're so charismatic. You talk so well. I mean, of course, I say things like savvy, instead of whatever the other word is, but at the same time, they have a hard time understanding that because I'm not shy,
Yeah, I think that is like a piece that would separate you from someone who has the same disability but is shy.
Yes.
Like you
and we know people like that.
You really lucked out in that area where like you are still super confident in yourself.
Yeah.
You might not be confident in your reading, but you know that you have a lot to offer the world, even if you can't read. And I think that it is a great example of not only like an invisible disability, because nobody believes that that's something like,
come on, just get up out of the wheelchair and run. I don't know. You have no legs. Come on. Who has no legs?
It's a perfect example of that. And like,
you have pants that go down. Are they dragging on the ground?
And then your perseverance, like you just push through.
And I'm pretty cocky too. So they're like, dude, nobody this confident can be this dumb.
Yeah.
And you're watch me. Yeah. And I think a lot of that comes from, I didn't get a lot of help when I was growing up. So like my family, a lot of them have this disability. To some sort of, some are
I would
more,
say that you're probably like in your family, you're probably the most severe.
But that's not what I'm saying. Like my parents have issues.
Everybody has something going on. Yeah.
So it's like when I was put in a situation where I needed to get something done, it was a whole lot of like, dude, don't be coming to me because I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what
you're on your own,
do.
Kid. You always have been.
I think that's a good thing because it allowed me. It's okay. It's multifaceted, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing in the sense where it made me who I am now, who I had to do it because there's nobody going to come save me. There's no mom who would sit there and read to me for hours and walk me through a test and ask me questions and do all of that. There was none of that. It was, you got to figure it out or you're going to fail. And if you fail, you're going to get the switch. So you better figure it out. And so I think at some point that's good, but in a lot of like instances, it's like it sucks to feel like this overwhelming anxiety that just pours over you that you have to take care of.
Yeah, I definitely think that it has impacted you greatly throughout your adult life. Like I think that any insecurities that you do have come from that feeling that nobody's going to be here to help, and that if things fail, it's all on you.
Yeah. I mean, that created a whole other like situations that don't even relate to reading or to work, right? Yeah. It created a whole other insecurity that is essentially impossible to overcome, but that's too bad. You need to deal with it. And since it bleeds over into all those other things, it affects them, but doesn't give them an excuse. Because like, there's no excuse you should be acting like this. It's like, yeah, but all these things happened, and that's why I'm like this. And I know it's not an excuse, but it's a reason why I am the way I am. And I do need to try to be better as a person. But, you're playing behind the eight ball. It's like, it's tough. And a lot of times those things don't get a whole lot of grace because it's like, it's your attitude, man. You have a horrible attitude. But a lot of that comes as a defense mechanism from not having the ability to deal with things, have help deal with things. So I can't ask for help when it comes to like, oh, I can't do this. I can't read this. Okay, well, we figure it out. Okay, well then when it comes to relationships or how to talk to my kids or just things like that, I'm just like, well, I don't need you. See you later.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, I can do it on my own.
And if I can't,
as a fallback. As a fallback. Like, if it's not working out, well, then I don't need that. And you can see that like when simple tasks happen around like the house, like if something breaks, now that we have money, you're just like, I'm just going to buy a new one. But back when we didn't have money, if something would break or something would need to be moved or something needed to be taken off the wall, if it didn't work out your first try of being like gentle with it, you just rip it off the wall or pull it out of the ground and end up like breaking the item that we were trying to fix or trying to move or whatever. But it's just like, I gotta figure it out, and if I don't figure it out and I fail, there's nobody here to help me, so
I don't need it.
I'm gonna effing do it.
Yeah, like if I was gonna move let's say a TV sits on like a...
Well, I was actually thinking about that time that your rugby coach called us and was like, hey, my neighbor has this wooden play structure.
Yeah.
And...
No, that wasn't... It was a school.
Oh,
It was the school. They said,
but your rugby coach did give us his play structure, the plastic one. But there was a wooden play structure that we were going to go pick up in Novato, like a really nice play structure. And we had 4 kids, and I was super excited about it.
It was really nice.
But we didn't have anybody to help us. So it was literally...
We didn't have any tools either.
And we didn't have any tools. It was literally just Matthew and myself. And we had the 4 kids with us, I think.
We did.
And we had the truck, and we were trying to get it out, and...
I ripped it apart. It was garbage. It sucked.
He just took it and ripped it apart.
Yeah. I was really upset because it wasn't working. Nobody could help me. And then I just like, well, we don't need this. We got a plastic one.
Yeah. He ripped it apart, packed it up into the back of the car or the back of the truck. And then we spent a few hours when we got home trying to piecemeal part of it together.
Yeah.
And some of it worked, but some of it was like, it just was not structurally sound anymore.
It was pretty old to begin with.
Yeah.
But like if my dad was to do it, it would have been fine.
Yeah.
But I couldn't call him to help me because he'd be like, dude, I'm not helping you. I got other things I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm working for a living.
That's a perfect example of like.
Yeah. Like if there was a let's say a dresser that a TV set on and we need to move that dresser and that dresser broke, I would say throw the dresser away and put the TV in a cardboard box. And you'd be like, what the heck? You just broke everything. I'm like, yeah, well, I tried. And now we don't need it anymore. I think a perfect example of this as well is mowing the lawn. Because I grew up in apartments. We never mowed the lawn. Like, we had a garden. Like, if there was something that gave us something, we took care of it. But things that didn't give us something, we didn't take care of. Because there was no ownership in it. And I was always like, if I own a home, I'll take care of the backyard. I'll take care of the front yard. That's not true. That's like working out. That's like, oh, if I got a gym membership, I'll work out. No, you won't. If you ain't doing your push-ups before you get a gym membership, you ain't going to be doing push-ups after you get a gym membership. And that's one of the hardest things is like mowing the lawn. It's like, it's not physically hard, but it's like, why do I need to do this? I don't need to do this. So I think it's caused me to cut a lot of things that I don't find necessary or worth my time and effort, to just say, I don't care. And then when I heard this happened I remember hearing a story on NPR where this guy came from Russia, which was at the time was communist, and he was living in America as he was a refugee, he got citizenship, he married somebody, and the wife was like, you need to mow the lawn. And the guy was like, I don't need to mow the lawn, because where he came from, like, you didn't own anything. And the neighbor started telling him, hey man, you need to mow your lawn. This looks everybody looks good. And as an act of like rebelling against communism, in a sense, like in his own head, he's like, I will never mow the lawn, because in my country, if you didn't mow the lawn, you're just going to get shot in the head. Like you had to take care of the government property. And he said, I came to America, now I'm free. I'm not doing that. And then when people tell him you need to do this, he just refused to do it.
That's interesting.
It happens to me a lot where someone will be like, no, you need to do that. I'm like, you ain't telling me what I need to do.
Yeah.
And it's not the best way to handle. It's not even a good way to handle like situations, but I think that's a defense mechanism to having just to kind of deal with things on my own.
Yeah. And not really having the right physical tools or
support
tools, like mental, like knowledge to do it, mental tools. That's what I was trying to say. I don't know why you're laughing at me. I don't understand. Yeah.
And I'm not a very good, read a book and put something together.
Yeah. Like
IKEA, I'm horrible with that. I'm very good at, Kim reads it and says, put A to B. Okay. Put B to C. Okay. Put C to D. Okay. Yeah. Use these. I'm like, you want to tell me what to do? I'll do it. But I think a lot of that has to come with a lack of responsibility, because when I do all that and it falls apart,
then it's my fault.
That's your fault. That ain't my fault.
You told me to do it wrong. Yeah.
I did what you told me to do. And if it didn't work out, this is your fault.
Like taking responsibility and like really taking ownership of that situation is something you're like, I don't want to do.
I don't want to do.
And like,
because I don't want to fail. Because it goes back to being a failure and a loser. It's like, you're not going to make, this IKEA furniture ain't going to make me a loser. I'd rather just have a cardboard box. Like, I don't want that. I'm not, you ain't calling me a loser because I can't put that together.
Yeah.
But that's like internal issues that I, haven't dealt with.
Yeah.
And that goes back to like self-reliance and cutting out, changing words to cut out situations where I don't need that. I don't need, subconscious. You just think about it, You don't know, you think about it. I can spell those words,
Yeah.
You don't know, you think about it, It's like, opposed to subconsciously thinking, I think it goes back to a lot of that. And that stuff happened when I was really young. So I internalized a lot of those things. I don't even know about them. And I don't even think about them until I'm literally in the middle of it. And later you would tell me like, hey, there's just no need to get this upset about this.
Yeah. I think that's probably one of our like biggest things that we work on in our relationship is that aspect of me coming from a place I don't know what that's like, to have that feeling that nobody's going to come save me and that you're on this on your own, and if you make a mistake you're a failure and a loser. Like me not understanding that and you living in that world 100% still. Yeah. Also like me feeling like, dude, we've been together for 25 years, which is longer than you were with your family. So why aren't you better yet? Basically, you know, like not understanding that, I think is like my biggest struggle, and being like, what do you have to be upset about? Like, for real.
Your life is so good.
Like
you have me.
What you have me. What more could you be asking for?
Yeah. But our brains are formed when,
the first 5 years.
I'm not that, but also first 15 years, our frontal lobe finishes develop. Males, it's 23. Women, it's like 19. So it's like, you develop the ability to kind of like socialize or construct your reality when you're young. And it's not like your brain will just change. Like, that's like saying, that's like say like too much. That's also, people in prison, right? They talk about people in prison. There's these studies that they do where they have it. Was it not the hippocampus, but the cerebral cortex of the brain, the center part of their brain, is what's responsible for fight or flight. And when let's say you have your mom was abused when you were in utero, when you're in your belly, or she was extremely stressed out, you release more like cortisol, which actually overdevelops that portion of the brain.
Yeah, for the baby.
For the baby. And when you are born, if the kid lives a stressful life, and I'm talking about like, I wanted chicken nuggets and they gave me a hamburger. I'm talking about you feel like you're going to die all the time, or you feel like your life's in danger, or you feel like you're not safe, or you feel, you're not good enough. That overdevelops that portion of the brain. And once that solidifies, that's it. And that's why people in prison have a underdeveloped frontal lobe, which is where our higher thinking comes from, and an overdeveloped central cortex, because when they were babies, when they're in utero, when they were babies, when they were young, their body had to overdevelop that, because it essentially is like there's lines everywhere. And you need to,
for survival.
When you're an adult, you need to be able to like either decide, am I going to run away? Am I going to fight? Am I going to just stay here? And by the time higher thinking comes around, you could be in a way better position. But the other, your brain can only be so big. That portion isn't going to shrink. I think you can develop neurons for your frontal lobe to like help you cope with and learn how to get through situations. And that's what reflecting and, dealing with your life in a responsible way helps you do. But as far as like reasoning, like you said, I've been with you more than I've been with anybody in my life.
Yeah.
Why ain't it better? We'll just look at his brain. Oh, wow, this portion's way bigger. I wonder how that would affect him. But it's tough, especially for the partner, because you didn't grow up in a rose garden, but at the same time, like you felt supported in a lot of ways. So like you didn't have.
Yeah, and I think
it's different.
My brain, I just reacted differently because we're different people.
Yeah.
Like there were bad things that happened in my life as a child, and a lot of times where I felt unsafe and all those kinds of things, but for whatever reason I coped with it differently than you did.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, I do feel like
but they definitely aren't the equivalent.
No, I feel like yours was just more constant than mine. I think that you had a lot more like constant chaos and fear and a lot fewer experiences of joy and safety, whereas I had a lot of like crazy stuff that happened and bad things that happened, but I had an underlying like thread that ran through where it was like love. Yeah. Like I still felt loved. And
back to neutral.
Yeah. And I feel like for you, especially as we've talked, as you've become an adult, like you did not feel loved. And
in a lot of ways.
And that is also a big point where even though we've been together for 25 years, that hole isn't a partner-sized hole. Yeah. That's a parent-sized hole.
Which, my mom has done a lot of work. And
yeah. She's a great lady. But
she's amazing. But she's apologized, and she's like
but that's still your reality.
But as far as like a parent size, it's not like my mom can come back right now and be like, I can start filling that hole in if you want. It's like it's too late for that. Like that Swiss cheese already has a hole in it right there, and you just gotta plug it back in.
Yeah, for sure. And that's like I think the saddest part is it's done. Yeah. And now, while she is around sometimes she's not dealing with the aftermath of your childhood.
Yeah. I mean, she deals with her own aftermath of her own childhood.
Yes.
Which was like, I thought my life was bad. It's like, I listen to my mom and you're like, you win. You know?
Yeah. In no way am I saying she did this on purpose or she's a bad person.
But she did it the best she could.
She did the best she could, but the best she could does impact you in your daily life today, and it impacts me, and it impacts our children. Like it's sad to think that is something that you're going to live with for the rest of your life, and you were an innocent child. But she was an innocent child, and now she's living with something for the rest of her life. And you can go back and go back, and it's like... It
reminds me when I was helping Jenna do her homework. It was like, I did the best I could, and we got an F. And they were like, what happened? They asked her, because I was helping her, what happened with her? And she's like, well, my dad helped me this time. And they were like, you failed. And I was like, man, we worked for hours on that. And it was not something it should have taken hours to work on.
Yeah.
But I tried so hard, and we still failed. Which just goes back to say, like, if you're dealing with things, you can be giving it a 100% and still fail.
Yeah. Like yeah, for sure. Like if I were, this is funny because my boss just used this analogy when we were in a meeting yesterday, but if I were to be running 100-yard dash against Usain Bolt.
Who?
I don't know his first name.
Usain?
I
think it's Usain.
Okay.
Or Hussein. Bolt,
I could try my hardest. I'm not beating him.
Yeah. I mean,
I can go out.
You can club his kneecap, shoot him in the kneecaps.
I can go out once a week. That is exactly what I'm talking about. You destroy it.
I win.
If you don't have the capability, your mind immediately goes to destroy it.
Yeah.
I go...
You got to think outside the box.
I literally go, okay, I can't beat him.
Yeah.
I'll move on to something else.
Like the lady from the skiing lady.
The skating?
The skating lady. What's her name?
Oh, gosh.
What's her name?
I want to say...
Tanya?
Tanya Harding.
Tanya Harding. She's like, I can't beat this bitch, but we can beat her. My legs.
Yeah. So
dude, that's horrible.
And guess what? She had a horrible life too.
Yeah.
I can't beat or destroy it. And you're like, I can't do it, destroy it.
She was like, she was severely abused by her husband.
Her mom was
horrible.
Yeah.
And she had that same mentality where it's like, no, I have to win. Because if I don't win, I'm going to be a loser.
Yeah.
And that's like, no one's calling me a loser anymore.
That's just such an interesting part of your personality, that if you can't beat them, destroy them. Or if you're not cheating, you're not trying, like that uncontrollable need. It's not even a want or a desire, that uncontrollable need to not fail.
Yeah.
And if I do fail, because if you failed when you were a child, there would be consequences.
Yeah.
And even though those consequences don't exist today, because ain't nobody beating you up.
I'm shooting them. I'm just saying. I mean, I was beat up a lot as a kid.
It's like ingrained in you. It's like, if you were to look at that neural pathway, it's like completely like super thick with
myelination.
Like super myelinated.
It's like, we're going through this like a raceway right there. Like, and that's one.
It's like you're playing Chutes and Ladders, and you get to that, and it's a freaking shoot. Like, whoop! I didn't mean to.
Every time you're being constructive, and then all of a sudden destruction.
Yeah, I don't know. It makes me sad. It makes me sad to think about like everything that everybody went through in your family, including your mom.
Yeah.
Because like there are things that I did as a mom, and I look back on and like literally get a stomach ache, and I start to feel bad about things that I failed at in my mind. And I feel bad for all of you guys. It makes me cry sometimes if I think about like, why are we actually going through whatever it is we're going through? You just destroyed something because you couldn't get it to work, and I'm upset about it, and you're upset about it. Like, I think about how out of control it is.
Yeah.
It's not in your control.
I also think about, I was reflecting on this like this past week. If I could give my kids a life without trauma, would I accept that trauma as a kid? You know, and of course the parent's answer is always, of course. Like I would hate for my kids to go through what I had to go through. I would hate for my kids to have to go through what my parents had to go through. Like, I would hate for any of that stuff not to affect, because everything affects everybody, but like they have a life with their own issues, but they can never say they have a life with the kind of issues that I had.
Yeah, and that's what every parent tries to do is make a better life for their kids.
So I tell myself, if that's true, stop fucking complaining. Because if it's not true, if you want your kids to feel, like unloved and, deep regret and sorrow and, horrible, just to feel like, life's a doom and gloom thing, then okay, complain about it. But if you are willing to accept the idea that I went through what I went through and my kids don't have to, well, then stop complaining about it. And I don't really complain about it. At least I don't feel like I complain about it. I give it as a reason. I give it as a reason why I'm acting like an asshole. Yeah. But I don't complain. I don't say, well, woe is me.
I also think that sometimes it comes out when the kids are getting something that you really wanted as a child. Yeah. And I'm not talking about I'm not talking about a physical thing. It might just be that I'm taking care of them when they're sick.
I hate that.
Then he
gets I don't hate that, but I hate...
You get really upset.
I hate that I feel resentful.
Yeah. Because you needed that and you didn't get it, and
they get it.
Yeah, and I can't imagine not giving that to my children.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I hear what you're saying. I mean, that's why I think one of those things I was thinking, that's why, people give religion a hard time. Like, I'm a Christian, and people give religion a hard time, but I think, some people, they really need religion, and they really need God
to help them,
because they would be somebody else if they didn't have that.
Yeah, I agree.
If you couldn't just say, oh, I'm giving it all to God, and I'm going to try to do my best to move on with my life. If you were like, no, there's no God, it's only me, in my family, there's people out there that are just, but by the grace of God, the society is a better society. And if you were to take that away from them, like with a snap of your fingers, the person that they would be not a good person. And I think for people, I don't push anything on anybody, but I think that for people who, can rationally live their life and feel like, oh, I don't need that. Okay, that's great. But there are millions of people out there who can't. I mean, the prisons are filled with people who they cannot control themselves.
There are people that need that structure, that need that instruction manual that says
everything's going to be okay.
This is how you need to do it.
Give yourself to me, live this way, and guess what? You'll be okay. That's Birthday Boy.
Oh.
You'll be okay.
Yeah.
And you'll even if you are experiencing hard times, don't worry. Give it to God, and everything will be fine. There's some people who need to hear that and need to live that, and that they hold on to that with everything they have because they don't have anything else to hold on to.
Yeah. I just think it's super interesting to just think about, because I used to be a Christian, and now I have no idea what I would consider myself, what religion I am. I know that I'm not an atheist. I believe that there is something out there, but I just don't believe that in any situation. I just think that there are right things in a lot of religions. I think that some people got some things right. I don't think anybody got everything right. So I don't know what religion that would be, but I don't know how to say it, but I feel like I don't need a book to tell me what I'm supposed to be doing right. I just go with what feels right, and it normally works out.
Yeah, but that's what society says to do too, and it just goes from a hell in a handbag.
No, but I don't mean what feels good.
You just said that.
I mean what feels right.
Oh.
What feels like the right thing to do, and sometimes the right thing doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
Sometimes the right thing sucks. But I feel like I lucked out because my family wasn't religious.
Yeah.
And had I been somebody who needed that direction to make moral decisions, I would have been left on my own, and I probably would have made really bad choices.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think reading the Bible, and I think that praying, is extremely beneficial, because I mean, it keeps the monsters at bay. Like, the idea, I mean, whether someone believes or doesn't believe, if you lived like you believed, you'd be a better person. As far as like your moral like outcome, or the idea of who you are morally.
So do you feel like that about me?
No, I mean,
do you think
I don't judge anybody.
I know you don't judge anybody. That's not what I'm talking
about. Like
I'm asking, do you think that I would be living a better life if I were to live like I believed in Christianity?
Yeah, let's go through it, right? What did Jesus say, right? They said, what's the most important commandment? He said, well, first is honor God, right? Okay, well, you don't do that. But second is love thy neighbor as thyself. Is that something you do?
Sure.
Then, I mean, what are we talking about, right? Like,
well, that's what I'm
asking.
So
you do live like that's what I'm saying. If someone,
live like I believe, but I don't believe.
Yeah. Like, do you murder? Do you cheat? Do you steal? No, you think all those things are bad. Well, there's a lot of people out there who don't think those things are wrong. There's a lot of people out there who think, dude, I'm getting, how many hedge fund guys are like, I will rip off everybody to make $1 billion.
Yeah.
Right?
I completely agree.
So
that
my point in that is to say, if you might not, well, I'm not living by that book. Okay. But what is the content of that book? Let's go through it. You are actually living by that book. So there's a morality that was put into you because we lived in a Christian society for so long that determined that was acceptable. This is the way you should live your life.
Yeah.
And that's kind of gone away. But when you really look at how we should be living our life, should you be a good person? Like, that's still there. Like, the morality that the New Testament teaches is all over when we talk of every aspect about how to be a good person is literally going through the Bible.
Yeah.
And of course, people are going to be like, but there's these verses that say this. It's like, that's not what I'm saying. If you live like Jesus, then you're not going to have any issues with morality. And people go, well, I don't live like Jesus. And like, are you trying to say I'm not moral? It's like, well, you might not think you do, but do you care about people that aren't just you and your family? Yeah. Well, then there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. It makes sense. I'm just saying, like,
people hate that label, though, is the thing. Oh, you think I'm attached to the Bible? It's like,
no, I'm just saying, like, I don't know what the words to use, but I was lucky enough to have that, however it was ingrained in me by my parents, by my teachers, by the grace of God, whatever it was, like, I have those feelings in me and I don't like doing bad things, and I lucked out because if I would have been somebody who didn't have that inside of me, I didn't have a religious family to drive me in the right direction.
But here's the thing. Here's another thing you have to consider for yourself is that your parents are old. They grew up in the 50s.
That was rude.
In the 40s.
I don't think you're old, Mom and Dad.
I mean, my point being, like, they grew up in the 50s.
Oh, gosh. Sorry to interrupt you, but I was reading to Jenna for her history. Yeah. And
your dad was in the book?
No, but they were talking about the daughter of, the daughter of a slave who her mom, like, got her out, and she lived to when my dad was, like, 5. I was like, oh my gosh. That's crazy.
That is crazy. Your dad could have known that. I mean, could have met that person.
Yeah. Anyway, I digress.
But your parents grew up in a time where they might not have been religious in a religious household, but they grew up in a culture of Christian beliefs. Because that was the 40s and 50s.
Yeah, I don't want to expose too much for my family.
You don't have to.
But I don't necessarily... Like my grandma,
Americans' culture.
My grandma Carol was like religious and Catholic.
I'm not saying like someone is religious. I'm saying the whole of America,
I hear you,
culturally was Christian.
I hear you.
And because of that, there was a certain morality that was attached to how one should act in society. Now you can detach yourself from religion, and you can just take those things and say, well, not me, because I did this or I did that. Okay, but if you take someone who's born now and they look at the society and the culture of society, it's going to be a whole lot different than someone born in the 40s. That's where like the greatest generation came home from war. The idea of what was acceptable and was not acceptable were two completely different things. Not completely different things, and that's not to say that the people who are in the 40s like, didn't have a whole bunch of other issues. But when we're talking about like deep morality issues, like don't steal, don't lie, like those what are they called? Those things used to be held a lot deeper back in the day. Now it's like, but those people are poor. That's why they're raiding the Target, and they don't have anything. It becomes acceptable. Now they are poor, and maybe they do need something, and that's why they're stealing. It definitely gives a reason to why they're doing that. But you used to be shamed for doing anything like that back in the day, especially in the 40s. So you were raised by these people who grew up with that kind of like idea of what society should be, regardless of religion. And today, we don't grow up with that. We grew up with, instant gratification. You play video games. Here's a perfect example of video games. You play video games. Remember back in the day, you used to play Mario or Crash Bandicoot, and you died, and you had to go all the way back to the beginning. Mm-hmm. Well, now if you die, you just respawn, and you just die over and over and over and over again. So you never have to develop the ability of resilience and to kind of like get through whatever you're going to get through. It's like, no, I can just get instant gratification and keep going and going and going. I don't need to worry about really hunkering down and figuring out how to get through this, is my point.
Yeah, I agree.
But going back to what we were talking about before, it made hard all the way back. It made it hard for me to listen to Joe Rogan, his old podcasts, because he already had like 150 of them, and he came out with a new one like every week. So you have 3-hour podcasts every week that you got to listen to. And then you have a 3-hour podcast.
They're 3 hours long?
These are 3 hours long.
Goodness gracious.
And dude, there's a famous like conversation with him and Ari Shaffir, who's a famous comedian, who said, Joe, you're wrong. You should cut this down to an hour. Nobody wants to listen to a 3-hour podcast. I do an hour. Everybody should do an hour. That's the extent of people's, their brain or whatever. They don't want to listen to a 3-hour podcast.
Attention span.
See how I just switched that up. But and Joe just says, well, I'm going to talk as long as I want to talk. And if people want to listen, they can listen. If they don't want to listen, then don't listen. But if I'm having an intellectual conversation with a neuroscientist and it hits an hour, I'm not going to stop because I need to figure out what's going on. He would say it takes 45 minutes just to get a guest that talks about astrophysics going. You have to make them feel comfortable. You have to, have certain banter. And it's only after 45 minutes to an hour do they actually start opening up about things. When he talks to politicians, whether it's Bernie Sanders or Donald Trump, he says once we get past an hour, they start acting a little different. You can hide who you are for an hour, but can you hide who you are for 3 hours when you're having a fun, conversation? And his big thing is if he talks to like a politician or a famous person, whoever, it's like, we don't even have to talk about your art or politics. We don't talk about that at all. If you're into baking, we just talk about baking for 3 hours. It's like his big thing is like, I don't have a set thing where I need to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's been a big criticism of him as well. Like, you didn't push him on all the things. He's like, yeah, it's not my job to push him on anything. It's my job to have a conversation. And sometimes we don't end up talking about, I've been so frustrated sometimes listening to guests that I want to know like things about, like actors or stuff like that. You're like, I want to know about Fight Club, and you have Edward Norton on. You know what I mean? Like, I want to know about these things, and he's like, doesn't talk about them at all because he's talking about,
Because he's just letting the conversation go naturally. And It's like this one. We started off talking about the percentage of podcasters who get past the 6th episode. And then we're into our childhood trauma.
Yeah.
And, you know, slavery a little bit.
What?
Yeah, because I was talking about that.
Oh, yeah, the freed.
That was like
slavery.
And then now back to Joe Rogan. So it is interesting. Sometimes, like, because I edit the podcast, so I listen to it over and over and
it's
over
like,
again. Sometimes I feel like I wish that we had like a set thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm like, oh, that wasn't very interesting.
Yeah.
But maybe it's not interesting the 8th time you listen to it, and maybe it is interesting the first 1 or 2 times. I don't know.
But I also think that like not every episode needs to be a home run. You can get a single, you can get a double. Sometimes you strike out, and that's just the way it is.
Which is interesting, given the discussion we had about how you feel about failure.
Yeah, well, because I'm looking at the long game, and I also have a different perspective about this podcast. One of the reasons why I like this podcast a lot is because I get to sit here and talk with my wife for an hour.
It's forced.
It's uninterrupted almost all the time. And we're not on our phones, and we just sit here and we could talk for an hour. And that's something that we never really done. You know, even when maybe if we're going out to dinner, we'll have like conversations. But this is something like every week I get to sit down and just have a conversation with you as a normal person. Mm-hmm. Not as like my wife who are talking about what's going to happen, you know, what are we going to do for our graduation, or, you know what I mean? Like something specific that pertains to just the house. Like we can talk about those things here or to our home, but the kind of the important thing is just to have a conversation. Because if people stop having conversations in their relationship, you know, their relationship suffers from it. I think that suffers from it. I think people grow resentful and contempt, and you have, I don't even talk to this person. I don't even need them around. Like, well, what are they even providing for me? And it's like, well, then when you lose that person, you realize, man, it'd be nice to have that person back. I think that when people stop talking to each other, that's what kind of happens. So that's one of the reasons why I like this podcast, and I like doing it with you, because it gives me an opportunity. So that's when I think like, oh, not all of them are successful. It's like, well, that's not the game I'm playing.
That's not your goal.
The game I'm playing is, first and foremost, to be able to sit here and have a conversation with you. And second, I know it's going to take, it's like when I'm training for rugby. It's like, you know, if you don't, or an ultra marathon, which I'm not doing very well at.
You notice we haven't given any updates about that at all.
You can't just step on the field and just go, I'm going to play 90 minutes. You have to you have to do all the steps you need to do to be successful. And if you do just step on the field, you're probably not going to be so successful. The first podcast didn't need to have 1 million views. The second podcast, the 5th, the 100th, the 1000th, like if it gets there, that's amazing. But it doesn't need to be, it's successful in I get to have this conversation, and also, you know, it'll get there if it gets there. And when it gets there, that's going to be awesome. But at least takes 100 episodes before we even figure out this is working great. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's why I like talking to you.
Oh, that's so nice. You make me look like such a bitch.
Yeah, you know. I just reveal who you are.
That's not nice.
I love you.
No, I just don't like talking.
I know you have an issue with talking.
I know that I get worried about confrontation.
Every time we hang out with your friends,
everything is confrontational.
Yeah, it can be.
Well, like to me, in my world, like this right now, we are having a confrontation because you believe one thing and I believe another thing. But to you, you're just like, we're just having a talk.
Yeah.
Anyway, what were you going to say?
Like when we were like hanging out with like all your friends and everything, like I'm very talkative, you know, and you're like, yeah, he can.
I like to listen.
That's why I bring him. Okay, I don't need to sit here and talk the whole time. You know, I just go head down. You know, throw some
little one-liners in there. Make people laugh.
And everybody's like, oh yeah. But you need to keep it going, and that's where she brings the ringer in. Anyways. Well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for joining us for our 10th episode. That feels like some sort of milestone.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun.
Congratulations to all you people out there watching.
Like and subscribe. Leave us a comment.
Yeah. subscribe, watch. Find us on TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Love you.